Jeff, watch out. Just gotta make sure you're on. Oh, we're not. We don't have a.
Oh.
We don't have slides.
Hello, everybody.
Okay.
Hi, good to see you guys.
For the slides. I don't think
Wait, what's
slides.
this?
I don't know, for the
Oh,
slides.
it's a clicker?
Our non-existent slides.
Yeah,
okay.
we don't have slides. Hi, so let me introduce myself. I am Jen. I'm a strategic marketing consultant at Beta Hat and Jade Inferno. And I actually used to work with this guy at Scopelys. So, Jamie, why don't you just do a little quick intro?
Hey, I'm Jamie Berger. It says over here that I'm the SVP of Marketing at Scopelys, and I currently work on Monopoly Go.
Awesome. So this little session is going to be where we spill all of our secrets because you have two marketers sitting here who...
Wait, what?
Well, yes, secrets.
Okay. I didn't know that part.
Yeah, no, that's
okay.
part of the... That's why you showed up, was to actually
Too late
give lots of secrets. So we're going to do three key things today. One is talk a little bit about IP integration into games. We're going to go a little bit into Stumble Guys and all of the fun things that Jamie had a chance to do on Stumble Guys before he came back to Monopoly. And then answer a lot of Monopoly questions because I think we all have lots of them of like, how did it get that big? So first, just want to start off with IP integration. So I always joke on the podcast that I'm the brand police. Everyone's always asking me what I think about brand integrations. At Scopelys, it's been such a core strategy since the very beginning, using IP in games and integrations into like programs that you've done. So can you talk a little bit about how you think about IP as part of the overall growth strategy?
Sure. So my history at Scopelys is I started in 2014. So I've been there for 10 years now. The very first game I launched at Scopelys was Yahtzee with Buddies. So that was our very first IP game. And I've been involved in every launch since then. IP, we've discovered, the IP can be a very powerful platform to build an audience and to create a game that engages that audience authentically. I think the trick, let's kind of say the most obvious point here, which is that IP is not a guarantor of success. That's been proven many times. And sometimes we'll hear people say, oh, that game's working because it's an IP game, but I can point to the graveyard of IP games, and it's a big one. IP alone cannot create success. IP is a platform. It's an opportunity. And I think where we've been successful, and others, is that we try to find what is it about the IP that would make for a great game, and authentically make for a great game. And sometimes it's fairly obvious. For Yahtzee, it was playing Yahtzee, but in this case, being able to play it with your friends. Yeah. And to create some unique new game mechanics in addition to the traditional game of Yahtzee that helped it grow. And then there's other games where we have to be, like Star Trek Fleet Command, very interpretive about what is it really that is the fantasy of making experiencing Star Trek that people want. And I think the team did an amazing job of interpreting the Star Trek IP in a way that was, in my belief, the first truly successful Star Trek game. I know some of the Paramount folks might not agree with me on this statement, but I think the success of that game really points to the way that they interpreted IP. And then, there's a lot of interesting things we've been doing with IP now on Stumble Guys, which is a different approach, which is we have an original IP that's a platform, it's an open platform, and we realized that that's a game that we can bring IPs into the game, and that was actually new for us. We're very used to making games based on IP, and here's a game where we're integrating IP, and we had to really rethink our approach to it, but it's been successful so far.
Yeah, I was super impressed with what you guys were doing with Stumble Guys. I think many of you know. So I forgot to mention I do that little podcast called This Week in Games, and some of you may listen to it. But on that podcast, what we talk a lot about is my toy background. And I used to work at Hasbro and Mattel and Disney and all these brands. And that's what you did. You started to incorporate Barbie and Hot Wheels and Nerf. It was fun to see they're actually competitive companies. I was a little worried about it aging down the brand, but you actually were telling me some really interesting stats that wasn't the case at all, because we think nostalgia is only for old people, but nostalgia for Gen Z is like 3 years ago.
2 years ago was nostalgia for a Gen Z. So Stumble Guys is a Gen Z game. It is a Gen Z phenomenon. Its core demographic is 13 to 21 years old. And I have learned a lot working on that game in the past 18 months in terms of rethinking the way I think about marketing. Yeah. What does marketing even mean to someone in that demographic? And so for me, what I've realized is that this is a demographic that is unimpressed with ideas that we think they should be impressed by. The concept of an IP integration to them is so obvious. It is literally their daily life. Collaborations, music, movie crossovers, TikToks, duets. It's their life every day. And so doing an IP integration for a Gen Z audience is not exciting. What you have to do is you have to say, what is going to be authentically interesting and fun? Interesting to talk about and fun to play. And I think that's what I'm proud of that we've done on Stumble Guys over the past year. Hot Wheels is a great case study where it was our first IP integration. And yeah, there was a lot of debate, honestly, about is this the right IP to integrate with? Is it too young? Does it make sense to our players? And I think what we found is we found the fun. I was telling you, the original concept for Hot Wheels was we were going to build a Hot Wheels track, and then the characters were going to run around and jump around the way you normally did in Stumble Guys. And that didn't feel particularly great. And one of our game designers came back and said, what do you think about this? And showed us a tech demo of a driving in the game, which the game did not support that as a mode. And we said, well, now we found it. And so once we introduced Hot Wheels, it blew up our DAU, it blew up our installs, our reactivation. It was a huge event. We learned a lot from it. And, of course, the team at Mattel is a great partner. So a lot of good success there.
Yeah. So the next one you did that I thought was really interesting, I wanted you to touch on, was Mr. Beast. That one wasn't as typical, right? It's not necessarily a character or car you can just put it in the game. It's more of a personality. So how did you approach that and think about that?
Well, a little background on Mr. Beast. We do a lot of research, as you would imagine, and did a lot of usual quant studies trying to understand what were brands that our audience would be interested in. And we threw Mr. Beast in, just like, hey, it'd be interesting to see, like, how would he stack up? Mr. Beast, with our audience, was the #1 IP in the world. And I'm talking about all the most famous IPs you can name. He was above all of them in interest.
Wow.
That is how powerful he is to this audience. And he's not just a talent. He is an IP. The team there has created not just him as a personality, but these insane videos that they create and wild fantasies that come to life that they create is a game mechanic in itself. And so the thing we loved when we approached their team was they instantly got it. It wasn't about like, hey, let's just make a skin of Jimmy and put him in the game. They were like, no, let's make an entire set of levels. Let's build entire experiences, and Jimmy will help design them. And we can create whole new game modes, and we can work with you on your UGC, and people can create their own Mr. Beast. So, the exciting thing about that team is how much they get it. They live in that world. Gaming is endemic to him and his audience, and so it was so native for them to think about that integration. So yeah, it was wildly popular, successful integration, and a lot of it has to do with the nature that he's not just a brand, he is an entertainment form himself. And when he tells his fans that he's doing something, they know he's doing it right, the way he wants to do it, and they respond. And they did. And it was, it's been a great partnership with that team.
Oh, that's super cool. So also very cool is you just announced Switch, Stumble Guys on the Switch for pre-registration program. You're on Xbox. How did you think about, I think this is the first time Scopely has taken a mobile game to console, and there's not even that many. We were trying to think of like what mobile games go to console in general. We were like, is Genshin one of those? If anyone knows, let us know, because we couldn't think of one. But how did you guys think about that, and why did that make sense?
Well, we were fortunate. I mean, the Kitka team, when they designed Stumble Guys, whether intuitively or on purpose, designed it to be ready for console. It was the UX, the controller experience was all designed for a handheld controller. And as a matter of fact, all the most active, engaged PC gamers for Stumble Guys all play on controller, because it's the best, in my opinion, experience about how to play the game. So it was natively, from a design point of view, ready to go to console, which is a very rare situation. Most mobile games you cannot imagine working really well and playing really well on console. This game was already essentially pre-designed to be that. So for us, it was really just the hard work of like making sure when we moved it to console that it felt good. And that if you were a player of this game, if you already play on mobile, you're ready to pick it up. The interesting thing about coming to console for us is that when we thought about it from the audience point of view, there's two really interesting audiences we're speaking to. One is our current player base, already play on mobile, and they're like, I also want to play on Switch, or I also want to play on Xbox or PlayStation. And then the other really interesting group was friends of our players who say, I don't usually play mobile games, or it's not my, I wouldn't play Stumble Guys on mobile, but now that it's on Xbox, I will play with my friend who loves the mobile game. And so we really love the fact that it actually is expanding our audience, but very natively, where it's actually like first degree friends who just now want to play with their friends who already love the game.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to close out Stumble Guys, and we're going to go to the big one, Monopoly Go. So number one, congratulations.
I was warned we were going to talk about Monopoly Go, so I'm prepared.
Yes, we're going to get there. And so one of the things that we talk about on the podcast a lot of times is that Monopoly Go seems to have hit the successful formula, which is IP plus features that have really been iterated on. Some may even say humbly copied from other games, plus just absolutely killer amounts of UA and a social component. I like to call it the revenge mechanic with good karma, which is community chest, the features that allow you to want to engage with your friends. And so let's talk about another kind of formula. Does this game actually make money? And do you want me to get a whiteboard out, and should we write numbers on a screen to show that this thing makes money?
Yeah. I mean, let's acknowledge that it's a little weird for the marketing guy to be talking about this, but let's get this out of the way. Scopely has a very classical perspective on how we should run our business. And if you've worked with us for a long period of time, you probably understand this. We believe in running great businesses, and we know that to be a great business is to be profitable. And when I say profit, it's not future profit and on a cohort basis, it's EBITDA. And so just to put this to bed, this kind of strange debate, Monopoly Go is very profitable on an EBITDA basis every day, every month, and every quarter. And to put some context around it, it was revealed through the Hasbro call, investor call, that we generate $800 million of revenue in Q4. That gives you a little perspective on the scale of the business on a run rate basis. And when people are saying, well, how can you invest a lot and be profitable? Well, there's your answer. If you have an $800 million quarterly business, you can invest aggressively and still be extremely profitable if you're running it, with a lot of discipline, which we do. So yeah, the good news on this game is I would suggest to everyone that the debate or the dialogue should move away from, is this game profitable? And I would suggest the debate should be, why is it profitable? Why is it doing so well? Because I honestly think we've had a whole morning of talking about the challenges of this business right now. And the why is the most important conversation that you have. Is like, what is happening with this game? That's
a good segue to my next question, which is, so I worked on Monopoly for many, many years. My origin story into video gaming was at EA. I probably made 10 or more Monopoly games. And the single most interesting fact about this brand is that it is a brand that everyone thinks it's from their own country.
Yes.
Because the board is all the locations from whatever country you're in. So if I'm in the US, it's Boardwalk. If you're in the UK, it's Mayfair or something else. Sorry, UK folks, I don't remember what it is exactly. But that brand awareness and plus affinity and plus a Q score probably matches up to something that is almost like Mr. Beast, like gives you those numbers that allows you to really appeal to such a massive audience.
Yeah.
How do you think about leveraging the brand and some of those capabilities, like with UA or with brand marketing? How do you think that plays into the success?
I mean, you talked a little bit about the formula, right? I want to take a moment. I want to take a step back from the formula for a moment and say one thing that I think matters to me a lot, and I think matters to the team. We don't think about a formula about this game. The thing we fixate on as a team is player love. We are fixated on the players loving this game. And we just talked about profit. We never talk about that as a team. We talk about what can we do to earn the love of our players. And I would challenge I think we spend as an industry in mobile gaming too much time trying to think of formulas. We always try to go, what is the right way? What is this formula? Ultimately, you're trying to distill a deeply subjective thing, which is how can I unlock player loyalty and love? And Supercell was just up here, has done an amazing job of that. Dream Games is here in Turkey, has done an amazing job of that. And there's many others. And now, getting to the Monopoly part of that player love, as a marketer in the early days, most of you probably know Monopoly Go journey has been a long journey. In all the early days of thinking about Monopoly as a development, I have never seen a game in any of my research in all my 30 years of doing professional marketing that had as much affinity, breadth and depth of affinity as Monopoly of any IP. It is essentially this bizarre universal IP that everyone likes and everyone knows. And all demographics. I can't describe many others that fit that model. And so I think one of the things that was this exciting opportunity with Monopoly, but the deep challenge was how do you tap into that, but do it in a way that takes what people love about Monopoly, but does it in a way that they can engage all the time and every day, which you cannot do in the traditional style of the board game rules. And so I think the brilliance of what we've been able to unlock, and not we, Massimo and the team who worked on this game for years, working to unlock the fun of what can make this game so much fun. And so the credit goes to that team. The development team did an amazing job on my end, where I was a participant, was on working to challenge, like, where's the monopoly? Like, how do we make sure, and I think you were involved in some of these conversations back in the day, which is like, how does the player see and feel what they love about Monopoly when they come to this game and when they play it every day? And I think the team has done an amazing job. On the brand marketing side, you know, we work to do the same thing, which is like, how can we unlock the fantasy of Monopoly, the love of, like, what do you really love about Monopoly? And there's the elements, the iconic elements of the game experience itself, but ultimately, it's about playing with other people. Like, what do you love about the game? It's not the rules of the game you love. It's the people you played with that you love. It's your deep-seated memory of flipping the board because you caught someone stealing from the bank. Like, you just have such strong feelings and emotions about playing that game with your family and your friends, and tapping into that. Into that social experience is really important. I would say, you know, you talk about like the revenge loop, which I don't love that term, but there is a lot of back and forth interaction of winning and losing billions and millions. But our most popular game element is cooperative play. Our co-op events are wildly popular, wildly successful, drive up our DAU and engagement constantly. And so, you know, we see that yin and yang balancing act of like the competitive aspect of the game, which is a zero-sum win-lose kind of game, and then the cooperative play, community chess, and now our co-op events. So it's great because you get to both be friends and competitors any given day, which I think is a unique kind of experience.
So when I was working with the Pogo team at EA, we called it cooperation, which was the element, especially for this consumer base, that they want to work together, but they want to work together towards a common goal against other people. And so it fulfills a lot of those social needs and motivations. I like to think that this is the Monopoly that finally has all of the good of Monopoly without all of the evil of Monopoly. The zero-sum nature of like always somebody feeling like they have to lose. I think you were able to like remove some of those parts and pieces from it and keep only the good feelings. It's
a game, and there are others. Like, we're not going to pretend that we invented this idea, but we, I think, have done a good job of distilling it, which is, it's a social experience. It's a real-time social experience. It is a game that is only enjoyed with others, often with friends and family, but also with new people you meet. And it creates that social connectivity an experience that, like I said, is Monopoly, right? And so I love playing the game myself because I know the people I'm playing with and playing against, and you feel a sense of connection with them, and I think it's tapped into that. And it could never be successful as a Monopoly-only game. It could never be successful because we spent money on UA and had the ability to do that. It can only be successful if we did those things and we tapped into the social component and the social experience and the social invitations, of which we've had over 400 million social invitations have been generated through Monopoly Go in the past less than a year. That gives you a sense of like how deep you know, the social engagement is.
So the final piece I want to get into is a little bit about brand marketing. I'll be kissing up a little here, everyone. Jamie's one of the best creative brand marketers I've ever had a chance to work with. Just really, you know, the way that you're able to tap into some of those motivations for brand marketing. So Scopely isn't necessarily the home where brand marketers go because usually it's very performance-based and show me the numbers and show me the return. But so how are you now thinking about the integration of brand marketing with UA? I mean, you kind of need to diversify the portfolio, so to speak, because you just can't do one or the other. So how are you convincing the guys to spend money on brand?
Well, two things. I'd say I have never ascribed to the idea that brand and performance are different things. I have, from day one at Scopely, always said that great performance is great brand. And I will never walk away from that belief. The reason much of our UA works, in my opinion, is we have an amazing UA team, and we tap into what people love about our brands through our creative. And those two things work together exceptionally well. Brand marketing, brand media beyond performance, I've always been a believer in, we've dabbled in, and I'm proud of the work we've done at Scopely over the years in brand, but we've never been able to dedicate the level of commitment to it that we could maybe aspire to, but Monopoly is a game where we believe that is the case. So diversifying our media strategy, diversifying our marketing mix is absolutely something I believe in. And how do we get Scopely to believe in it? You demonstrate performance.
Yeah. Okay.
We're always going to be a performance-driven company. We're always going to be a company that, if you want to make an investment, you have to demonstrate how is it driving an outcome. That outcome can be different types of outcomes, but you need to have a clarity about what it is you're trying to accomplish. And when you demonstrate that, and we just ran a pretty meaningful test of TV in the UK in December. Once we're able to then do that in a meaningful way and demonstrate that it drove incremental performance in a way that would excite us as a company, then floodgates are open.
Yeah.
So I think I would expect to see more about that in the future for us. But Monopoly is a game. Monopoly Go is a game, and Monopoly is a brand that we think is a great platform for brand marketing outside of the context of pure performance.
Does that
marketing.
extend to community as well? I think you have 700,000 Discord members. Like, that's pretty massive for a casual mobile game.
The over 8 million in Facebook and 2 million in TikTok and
crazy.
And amazingly over 500,000 in Discord, which you would think is traditionally a very core games kind of destination. And so this community as a voice of our game is more powerful than any UA money we can spend. And engaging them and leveraging them as a voice of our player base to other potential players or lapsed players and bringing them back, or new players to bring them in, is the most important thing we can do. And for the context, our community team and social team are part of our marketing org, because we believe that there is no difference between, we have to always have community in our minds.
So we're going to wrap up, and many of you who listen know that we do what's called the Golden Twig Awards now, and Monopoly Go won one of our awards called You Crushed It. So here is the official presentation. Britt back at Comms is asked for like some sort of...
Wow.
Yes,
look at this.
There's a photo moment, everybody. Okay, awesome.
It's real wood.
Yes, please notice the new branding, speaking of brand marketing. Well, that concludes our session. Breakout rooms are about to happen. I think they should be up on a screen, maybe, no. If not, you can do the QR code on the back and see what's next. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.